Welcome everyone, it's Evelyn from Twin Flames 3344. Take a deep breath, guys. Take a deep breath. Hold it. And let it out slowly. This is a Divine Masculine Twin Flame read in front of you, and don't go anywhere. A lot of cool stuff came up before the read even started, a lot. So I would stay tuned if I were you. It's really cool today. The day today is May 12th, 2020. The 12 is the Hanged Man, and the day adds up to 21-3, so the world. 21 is the world. Completion, coming full circle, going out into the world. Perhaps the world becoming right side up again. And the 3 is coming together, being joyful, being authentic to who you are, coming together in joy, your siblings and friends. And the 12, of course, is another 3. So a lot of 3 energy of socializing today. Okay, it is Tuesday. It was also a beautiful day here in Philadelphia area. And then I woke up at 25, which is the Knight of Wands, and I cut the SIRIAN STARSEED deck, the main deck for this read, at 10, 20, 21. So again, the world is mainly the 21 here. So 10 is the Wheel of Fortune, 21 is the world again. So this read was cut and dealt, the main cards, at 21, 10-21 actually. And then it was finished at 10:38, which is the Queen of Cups. So we have the 21 of the world, and then the Queen of Cups energy going into this read. And before, well, I'm going to get right into it. Forgive me if I'm a little bit out of breath. I just got back from a run and working out, so I'm still sweating. The major arcana for this read, for those of you who are not familiar with my read, it's a 7-deck read. The main deck is the SIRIAN STARSEED deck, the big cards, and then I have the Rider-Waite mini deck. I have the Romance Angels, the Numerology deck, the Tarot of Sexual Magic, the Universal Golden Tarot, and the Gilded Tarot as well. And so there's a lot of energy, so it is a general read. Don't forget, if something doesn't resonate with you, then it's not for you, okay? There's a lot of messages that are coming out here, especially before the read today. And so just go with it, but stay tuned, okay? Because there's definitely going to be something there for you today. The major arcana in this read Guidance, which is like the Hierophant, Indigo, which is like the Magician, the Strength card, Shadow, which is the Devil, Tower, the Hanging Man, which is like the Hanged Man, and after the read, the Starseed came up, which is like the Fool. We had 1 Pentacle, 3 Wands, and 1 Sword. There were no cups in this read, which has been a bit of a theme the past couple days with the masculine, no cups, which means they're not showing a lot of emotions and love to the people around them. It was very much Wands today, which is being passionate and busy, active, physical, working out, being passionate about things, getting things done physically. After the read, we also had the 9 of Wands, which is the Wounded Warrior. It's not a court card, but it is the Wounded Warrior. And then we had the Knight of Swords as well. And before the read, the Page of Wands came up. There were no court cards in the main part of the read. None at all. Say no cups and no people. Now, maybe in the major arcana, yes, but not in the court cards. The numbers and the code line for this read were all about healing, and they were broken up here. So only ing was showing, not the healing part. So the word was split up in 2, heal and ing, and I'll get into that in a minute. The numbers that came up, we had double 6s was really important today, as well as the 12 and 28 came up a couple times, which is the 2 of Wands, the Twin Flames, the 2 of Flames. 66 is the Queen of Pentacles, and 12 is the Hangman. 66, we also had double 1s, which is the 11 of Justice, the 12, like I said, 26, which is the Page of Wands, 67, which is the Knight of Pentacles, 16, which is the Tower. And then we also had, in a lesser sense, 23, which is the King of Wands, 36, which is the 10 of Wands, that Atlas energy of the weight of the world upon your shoulders, and then 78, which is the 10 of Pentacles, and 79, which is for me the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and also 89, which is the reflection of 98, the human temperature. So for me, the 89 is going to extremes, like getting too heated and getting too cold. And that can be in temperament. The code line being all about healing. Like I said, the number added up to 12. It was 6 and 6, but also 28 was coming up here in a separate way from the cards. The code line was very, very cool. So this is where all this line of events came out. So in healing, the masculine here, again, this is for the divine masculine twin flame, so this is for the masculine within the feminine as well. Bridging, or the gateway west, but also left, which I'm looking at that west for me is masculine and left is feminine. So it's talking about in the masculine energy being the feminine. So it's talking about the divine masculine, but the masculine going into his left energy, his feminine energy, in the alternating currents or air sign conditioning the air sign to the alternating currents of going back and forth from the masculine to the feminine, which is the toggling adjacent energies back and forth, where it's 3D, 5D is up and down. And then the alternating currents, though, also comes up as anti-Christum or Christ, anti-Christum. So the Christum, it's the meaning for before Christ. But also it brought up a whole line of thinking and definitions that will come up in a little bit, you'll see. So remember that I said that, having to do with the Antichrist. We're talking A-N-T-E, Christ, before Christ, like the AC of alternating currents, which Atlantic City might come up as well. But in having this energy of the Antichrist or the before Christ and seeing God by being the masculine, but bridging towards the feminine or the left, being able to see God and see the lovers, the shadow and the light, the lovers having both, but focusing here on the Sophia 9, which is the collective consciousness of the feminine, the divine feminine at the half moon, mid-cycle between the full moon and the new moon, which is a very temperate place, right? There's not a lot of extreme emotions during that time of the moon cycle. So being the centered human. And I was getting the woe of flames, so the woe being the feminine energy of flames and the sadness of the feminine energy. But I was also getting woof. And when I was talking to my son yesterday, the wolf was coming up. So wolf was coming up here in the fiery wolf as we build up towards the new moon, away from the full moon. But again, being in the feminine energy of the Sophia 9, the collective consciousness of the feminine, and the lover's energy. The masculine and his feminine vacillating before Christ in order to see God, right? Allowing his feminine to come out, because that's his God energy that allows him to toggle upward. The masculine's more grounded of this world. The Sophia 9 centered human or mid-moon. It's funny, I wrote mid-mood by accident. So the mid-mood and the twin flame human divine lovers. So then I was getting, if the acronym here was actually WOW, the W-O, as opposed to the 2, because it was from the word 2, then it was also bringing up the FL or the FLA in the flames of Florida. But if it was the 2, TWO, then it's just the F of the rising temperatures. So if the twin flames come together and their temperatures rise, there's no need to go to Florida to get the keys because they've already found them, which was a very cool message. So if the woe, go to Florida. If the twin flames are together, the temperature rises naturally. There's no need to go get heated up in Florida or find the keys. So the bridge or the gateway west and left, the masculine in his feminine before Christ or the Antichrist with alternating currents and air conditioning in order to see God, the feminine collective that centers the human, mid-moon cycle balance as phi versus pi comes up in the woe of flames versus the twin flame lovers. Pi, P-I, which is the circle with a line in it, right? The diameter from one side of the circle to the other, but it doesn't go outside the circle. It's like the pi cut in half. So pi is restricted inside the circle, but phi, P-H-I, goes outside the lines. It is free to roam and draw outside the lines. And then, since phi was coming up, Philadelphia came up, which is where I happen to live in the Philadelphia area. And from Oxford dictionaries, I was looking up some different definitions of Philadelphia. And we're going to get into that, plus the breakdown of Philadelphia, which was really cool. So it's a city in Pennsylvania on the Delaware River. Population, this was from 2008, an estimate and this is probably just within the city, not with the city limits, but it said 1,447,395. And that was estimated in 2008. Established as a Quaker colony by William Penn and others in 1681, it was the site in 1776 of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and 1787 adoption of the Constitution of the United States. And of course, you all know it's considered the city of brotherly love. And the reason for that is because Philadelphia, as in the one in the Egypt area or the Greece area, literally means brotherly love. So phileo means to love. And then adelphos means brother, whereas adelphi means sister. So notice that brother is P-H-O-S and sister is F-E-E. So one is P-H and the other is F. And so this was coming up from behindthename.com. And then from the freedictionary.com, it's just noted as northeast of the Dead Sea in modern Jordan. And of course, this is the other Philadelphia. So Philadelphia from abarimpublications.com. So this was ABARIM-publications.com. Philadelphia occurs twice in the Bible in Revelation as one of 7 cities and the churches of Asia Minor in modern Turkey, which is what is Turkey now. This was Revelations 1:11 and 3:7. So you see you have the magician and the 11 of justice and the 37, the 3 of the empress and the 7 of the chariot, but it's also the 37 of the king of cups, unconditional love. Today the city is known as, and I'm sorry I'm not going to say the names right, Alessahir, Allah Sharir, which actually means city of God. Philadelphia is also a girl's name in Greek, meaning loving people, which was probably more of a U.S. translation there. And that was from thinkbabynames.com. So Philadelphia as a girl's name in Greek, meaning loving people, not just brotherly love. So the founders are Quakers with high ideals and tradition. Amongst their friends would name their eldest daughter in each family after the city, Philadelphia. So each one would name their oldest daughter Philadelphia. So Philadelphia has more outdoor sculptures and murals than any other American city. Did you know that? I didn't. And then allaboutArchaeology.org at 1127, which is Justice and the Ace of Wands. In the 6th letter of St. John to the 7 churches of Asia Minor was the letter to Philadelphia city which is along a fault line. So subject to powerful earthquakes, which shakes it to its core. So we're talking about the Philadelphia, not here, but the one in Egypt, or that area, making the task of recovery from those earthquakes and the recovery of artifacts there, because there's a lot of artifacts there, very difficult. So the church in Philadelphia so again, the brother and sister, Adelphi and Adelphos, that was coming up from answers.com. So Philadelphia stood at, before I leave this page too, I want to go back to flames from Florida, when I was talking about Florida. If you take flames apart, it's literally Florida, M and then ES, or Florida, M-E, me, and then S, which for me is Sophia, Florida, me, S. And I told you this week that God came in as saying, when we say me, God's referencing to himself. That's from the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. God was saying me is me, that's God. So Florida, me being God, which is also references Mary and Eve, and then the S of Sophia, so very much the feminine collective here was coming up. So remember that, because the M-E and the S come up again. And the ES always references, those are my initials, so it always references the divine feminine for me as well. It can reference the feminine not in general, not just the divine feminine, the ES. So In bridging or the gateway of the west and left of the feminine, the masculine is feminine before Christ, seeing God, and the feminine collective that centers the human. It allows the masculine to be more centered, toggling up, mid-moon cycle balance in the phi versus pi, the woe of the flames versus the twin flame lovers. All right, so as I turn the page, talking about the church in Philadelphia, the church in Philadelphia stood at an important junction of imperial post from Rome through Troas, Pergamos or Pergamum, it's called both things, and Sardis to Tarsus and the east, an open door to share the gospel. Yet here too, a synagogue of Satan opposed the believers. So from meandertravel.com was this information. So there was no archaeological evidence for a synagogue found in that area, but in the 3rd century AD, an inscription was found 10 miles east of the city mentioning a synagogue of the Hebrews. So of course it was an earthquake-prone zone, was called, I'm not going to get this one right, it is the Catacomene, I'm not sure. And if I probably heard it, I was like, oh, that's what it is. I'm terrible with languages. So Sardis and Philadelphia demonstrated by earthquakes, were devastated by earthquakes in 17 AD. Asian temples were then built to withstand severe earthquakes, because obviously if they had to keep rebuilding, what's the point of building? So they learned how to make them with a foundation laid on beds of charcoal covered with wool fleeces, which caused the structure to then float on the soil like a raft. Each block was joined to another by metal cramps. It was written cramps. I don't know if they meant clamps, but cramps. So the platform was a unity. The temple was the most secure structure in the city. The pillar in the temple of God being the one of safety and security, so everyone would always feel safe there. Inscribed pillars throughout Turkey, and this was from hwalibrary.com. The inscribed pillars throughout Turkey, there were inscribed pillars throughout Turkey. So one of the examples was the Temple of Zeus at Euramos with dedicated inscriptions on 10 of 11 standing pillars. Jesus will write divine names as well as his new name on those human pillars who overcame. Philadelphia received a new name twice in the 1st century. First was after that destruction in 17 AD, the earthquake, and then it became Neo-Caesarea, basically for Caesar, Neo-Caesarea, in gratitude for Tiberius's generosity, who helped them rebuild, and the second time to Flavia after the Vespasian gave financial assistance then, in a similar catastrophe. So Pergamos, or Pegamos, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, or it's per and then Gamos, so Gamos, or Gamum, Gamum. So when Attalus, this is spelled Attalus, 3, the last of their priest kings died, because in Philadelphia, whoever ran the state also ran the religion, and this will come up with one of the sections of the 7 cities and the 7 churches. So when Attalus III, the last of their priest kings, died in 133 BC, around there, he bequeathed both his royal and priestly offices to the Romans. So 1 century later, then what would happen, 27 BC to 14 AD, is when Caesar became emperor of Rome. So the first Caesar, of course, was Julius, but he wasn't emperor, he was dictator. So Julius came in, he died March 15th, 44 BCE. He was born July 12th or 13th, around 100 BC, they weren't sure, but died 315-44 BCE. He was dictator, so he wasn't considered the first emperor of Rome. And he was a dictator between 46 and 44 before Christ. So then, of course, came Augustus Caesar, 27 BC to 14 AD. So Caesar became emperor of Rome and Pontifex Maximus of the religion of the empire, and divine honors handed down to those successors, then of course later assured by the popes, the supreme pontiffs of the ecclesiastical Rome. So Pergamos became the connecting link between the two Babylons, ancient and modern. So we're talking about the 7 cities or the 7 churches of Asia Minor. So the order of them were Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, I'm not sure how that one's pronounced, Sardis, and then Laodicea and Philadelphia. Philadelphia is actually the 6th one. Laodicea is the 7th. So the first one, Ephesus, was the most desirable. People were relaxed. So listen to these definitions according to the twin flame journey. Ephesus is the most desirable because people are relaxed. They let go. It's the city of change. They allow changes. And yeah, so that's Ephesus. So it was considered the most desirable, and this was the first. And then we have Smyrna, which was based on myrrh. So a lot of suffering and rebirth. But its rebirth had to do with the city of life, the rebirthing and myrrh. The third one was the Pergamum, which was 40 miles. Now notice this too. Smyrna was 40 miles north of Ephesus, and Pergamum was 40 miles northeast of Smyrna. And Pergamum was impregnable because it was impregnable because up on a what's it called? On a plateau. So it was literally, you couldn't attack it, right? Because there was only one way in. It was probably a really steep stairway. So it was considered the safe place of union and exaltation, and yet at the same time it was considered Satan's throne because of fame there. So Satan's throne was Weymouth, and considered pagan religion of the province. For in all ancient nations, the church and state were united. The state ruler also ruled religious. So this also then was related to healing and medicine. So these places were considered a counterfeit of Christ, right? Because they were the healers, but it wasn't Christ. For example, the Temple of Zeus, which came up already, and the example of the serpent around the pole, and again, the symbol of medicine today. The one of 7 ancient wonders of the world now is Temple of Zeus because there still remains there. So again, so we have the first house was the city, the most desirable because it was relaxed and they let go and they allowed changes. The second one had to do with suffering and rebirth, but considered the city of life because of the rebirth energy. And remember, the myrrh was very bitter, but very good for you as well. And then the third one was that safe place of the union going within in an exalted place where nobody could get to you. But it was considered Satan's thrones, or in other words, dark night of the soul, Pergamum, purgatory, the 4D bridge, okay? So this is the third one. The fourth one is Thyatira, or Thyatira, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, and forgive my ignorance with this stuff. All right, so we get to this one. And this one's 25 miles southeast of Pergamos. And this place is all plains, but there's no natural fortification here. And people considered them a little to the left of the main road, okay? So a little bit off, off-centered, which the divine feminine would have been considered in the journey. So here was sacrifice and contrition. There were trade builders, and here is where weakness was made strong. So here is the alchemy of nickel into gold. Here they had metal manufacturing and fabric dyes because they didn't have the land to feed off of, so they had to find other ways. So they made metals and fabrics. And purple and then scarlet became those main royal colors that they liked to use. Also, this city was considered one of trade guilds. So they had a lot of banquets and get-togethers considered in pagan temples, where then they said they had sexual practices where they would have sex on the couches afterward, things like that. So these were considered pagan rituals as opposed to a Christ-like church in these cities. So Christ introduced himself as Son God here, who hath eyes like unto flame of fire. His feet are like fine brass, eyes like flaming fire, or his feet are like fine brass, but then the eyes like flaming fire, and whose eyes flash like fire, and whose feet glow like bronze were just other translations of the same thing. But to the people, because in this area, they dealt a lot with flaming furnaces because they were heating metals, brass and bronze. And yeah, that comes up a lot in the cards too, heating up things in the oven. So it could be, you know, metal work, pottery work, all of those kind of things as well, incineration of bodies and things like that. And then the next city was Sardis, which is considered the city of death. This one was founded 1200 BC and one of the oldest and most important cities of Asia. It was 35 miles south of the last one and the capital of the kingdom of Lydia. So Sardis is considered the city of death, but also the capital of Lydia, one of the main territories in Asia Minor. So this was 549 BC, and again after the fall of Roman power in Asia in 395 AD. So they came back. So the Romans took them down, but then they were able to take it over again. So Lydia was one of the richest kingdoms. So this is where the feminine becomes empowered on the journey, reputed as inventors of coined money. Very rich soil there, so they could, you know, do a lot with the soil there. But it was built on a plateau in an inaccessible fortress. So actually this is more the one that I was talking about than the other, but they're very similar. It was built on a plateau of crumbling rock. So in this city, Sardis, they were considered overconfident, which led to their takeover because they got so relaxed about protection because they were up on this plateau with no access, but this, you know, this very steep stairwell. They were taken over because, you know, they were overconfident. So they fell because of that. But 330 years later, they were able to take it back for the same reasons. So the definition for Sardis is those escaping, all right, the city of death. So now this is like, so let me see, the capital of Lydia. This was considered one of the richest kingdoms where they coined money with very rich soil there, but it was up on a plateau. So it's very interesting that it was so fertile there, even though they were up on a crumbling rock plateau. But the city of death, because you know, you couldn't get up there. But if you got too lackadaisical about it, if you didn't keep your boundaries up, then someone could take over and take you down. And then you'd have to come back and start all over again. So then we get to the sixth city, which is Philadelphia, which guess how many miles it is from the last city? 28, the Twin Flames. Philadelphia, southeast of Sardis. Founded in 189 BC by none other than Attalus Philadelphus. So now we have Atlas in Philadelphia here, named for his name and relationship with his brother, the king of Lydia. Also, or otherwise known as Decapolis, one of 10 cities of the plain, also was known as Little Athens due to the magnificence of the public buildings. And then the Turkish name, which we already talked about, Al-Sharir. This is actually, in Philadelphia means the city of God, or considered the exalted city. Philadelphia, not the Philadelphia here, obviously, but the Philadelphia over there, is guarded and commanded as an important pass through the mountains between Hermus and Meander valleys. And Philadelphia is considered the place of trials, so trials and tribulations. Look at all our trials and tribulations, sinking in a gentle pool of wine. Don't disturb me now. I can't remember the lyrics. Till this evening, till this morning, life is fine. All right, Spirit's connecting with me. So that was coming up. So thus the keeper. So Philadelphia was the keeper of the key to the door, or the gateway to the Eastern Highlands. And then Highlander came up, and I just told you about that movie. with the power to open and close according to the will of the officials through the portal past the mail, trade, and commerce of the West, and West came up in the code header, to the wide regions of the Central and East Lydia. So Philadelphia literally was the portal from the West to the East. And so Philadelphia was a place full of earthquakes. They had to keep starting over again and again. So anyone who saw them, now think of this as the twins, anyone who saw them would think they're crazy. Why would you keep putting yourself through that? So they would have questioned this, the senility of the people to rebuild here. So the people, what came out of this though, was that people would then have second homes, right? They'd have a summer home or a getaway home, like the snowbirds. So this is where the snowbird home came from. So in the verses 10 to 12, I'm not sure which book that was, that if faithfully would one day, this is coming from Christ to the Philadelphians, that if faithfully they would one day enter the New Jerusalem, the city of God, where they could dwell safely and go no more out. So Christ was basically promising the Philadelphians that if they were faithful, that one day their city would no longer be destroyed by earthquakes, if they had faith. So remember this. All right, so then we go to the seventh trial. Oh, and when I said another name for Philadelphia was also Little Athens, and it came up because my name Evelyn means Little Eve. So this is kind of referencing the masculine reference to the little Eve as in Adam and Eve, and Adam comes up again too in this information. So we get to the seventh city here, or the seventh church of Asia Minor. So Laodicea, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but anyway, this one is 40 miles southeast of Philadelphia and 100 miles east of Ephesus, founded by Antiochus II, please correct me, but the second, this is 260 to 246 BC, and named in honor of his wife, Leodice, or Leodice, who after poisoned him. So wasn't that a nice thank you from her? This is the Antiochus who formed the marriage league with Ptolemy Philadelphus, king of Egypt, in fulfillment of Daniel 11:6. So mostly Syrians and Jews from Babylon that were here in this seventh city. This one considered the wealthy city, very much like Paris, of fashion, being proud, self-satisfied, and health here. Rich farm country, banking, and large markets controlled mostly by the Jews. 7,500 besides the women and children at that time the epistle was written. So wealthy that when it was destroyed, they refused Roman help in order to rebuild it because they had so much money. And famous for self-sufficiency. So what does that mean? Sovereignty. Does this all sound familiar to you? Do you understand the keys? Like many people want to understand the keys to the point of these cities. And I'm literally describing the twin flame journey to you. So the Christ statute, what did I write there? Regarding the pride of spiritual wealth, Christ stated to the people of this city, at this church, regarding the pride of their spiritual wealth of the church members is full of meaning. It spoke to the rich merchants and bankers. Christ spoke to the rich merchants and bankers in their own dialect. Black cloth comes from this city, manufactured from wool produced in the valley. Glossy, black, and soft like silk, famous for, and all wore black and were very proud of it. Christ advised the Christians of the city to buy of him the white raiment, the beautiful robe of his own righteousness. People of Laodicea were familiar with white toga worn by Roman citizens and officials, and so they felt it very much a privilege to wear white garments, felt esteemed and a high honor. For the Romans, it meant victory, but for the Christians, it meant purity of character through the imparted righteousness of Christ. And that was at 121, which is the magician, and the 21 again of the world, which is today's date. Today's date adds up to that. So this was also a noted health resort, not a spa so much, and it was a spa because they had hot springs and cold springs and lukewarm springs, in which was not meant for drinking, but they were healing springs for sure. So they were very well known for their healing here. In connection with the temple of Karu was a renowned school of medicine. Asclepius. So the Greek god of medicine, or in other words, the pagan counterfeit. So again, back then, anything considered healing or medicine or science-oriented was considered pagan and a counterfeit Christ of the Messiah. The great physician advised the spiritually blind Laodiceans to buy their eye slate called colarium in order for them to achieve their spiritual vision. So it was basically the scientific community helping those who didn't believe in a religion to find some kind of spirituality other than religious spirituality. So that was kind of cool. But again, this parallels with our light workers who are in the health industries, who may not be religious people, and a lot of the masculine twins may not be religious as well some of the feminines. I don't mean religious, but spiritual, because you don't have to be spiritual or religious to be a twin or a light worker or anything. It just means they have different words to describe the same thing. So this comes up here as well. So I turn the page, it's 128. 1 is the magician, 28 again is the twin flames, the two of wands. Going back to the code line about healing and why heal and ing were separated. And again, why was phi and pi coming up? Phi versus pi. And remember that pi is the line in the circle and phi is the line outside the circle. And just a reminder too that Asia Minor, where all these 7 cities and churches were inside of what is modern day Turkey now. And that Adelphos, P-H-O-S, is brother, and Adelphi means sister. Okay. All right, so we go back to the code line, and we have the bridge or gateway at 130 now, which is the magician, and 30 of the 4 of wands. The bridge or gateway in toggling west, but left. So being in the masculine, but toggling left into his feminine before Christ or antichrist, to see God, or the Sophia 9, the collective consciousness of the feminine, and the divine lovers of the phi, P-H-I, twin flame lovers. And again, this is mid-cycle, because the circle with the line through it for me means mid-moon cycle. The phi twin flame lovers, healing. And so we have heal, H-E-A-L, and you notice that's also broken up into he and all. So I was getting he, all, ing, and so God was making it funny because God's been coming up as me, so then meal is me all, God all. So he all is heal, me all is God, because a meal is your spiritual fulfillment, your nutrition through your spiritual life, whereas he all is a very human condition where you need doctors to heal you from. And then the ing comes up as in, G is God for me. Or ing, all separate letters are I is the I am presence, the N of Jesus, and the G of God. The I am man, the Jesus, and then to the God. The movement between the three, up and down through your higher self. So mid-cycle of the phi is the centered human connected to the higher realms. Philadelphia bridged the west to the east, Lydia. So then we go back to the phi. This is the circle with the line through it going outside the lines. And I was getting connection here at 202. This was a very feminine connection there. So the phi may have been in goldennumbers.net. They said that the phi letter of the Greek alphabet may have actually been the K sound before it is actually the PH and now F. The PHI equals the numerological value of 500, and sometimes 500,000 from eon.wikipedia.org, and it's the 21st letter of the Greek alphabet. And what is today again? It adds up to 21. So we're talking about the 21st letter of the Greek alphabet. PHI is also Protected Health Information and Public Health Institute. Do you see a theme here? So again, from goldennumbers.net, the golden ratio is phi, the PHI, whereas, of course, you know pi is the 3.14, okay? So, of course, it listed the numbers for phi, the golden ratio, and pi, the 3.14. The phi ratio is 1.618, ... So unlike pi, which is a transcendental number, phi is the solution to, did I write C or A? To C quadratic equation. Divine proportion, the golden mean, the golden section, or the golden ratio are all referencing the same thing, the PHI. The pi ratio of circumference of a circle to its diameter, and the phi is simply the ratio of the line segments that result when a line is divided into one very special and unique way. So it's literally taking one long line A and then taking that same line and doubling it, but cutting it up into B and C, one longer than the other, where the ratio of A to B equals the same ratio as B to C. So the one long line that's not separated, that ratio to the longer line of the second line is the same ratio as that longer line to the even smaller line, which then reoccurs in the human body and in the universe, all sorts of places. So again, pi versus phi. So again, it's present in human body proportions, plants, DNA, the solar system, art, architecture, music, population growth, Bible, stocks, etc. Okay, so then the picture of all the Greek letters from the alphabet were coming up. So X and Y were coming up as chi and epsilon, or upsilon rather. And pi now, PI, is the 16th letter. So we have phi, the 21st letter, pi is the 16th letter, which is the tower, and it's also the letter P. And the numerological value is 80, which happens to be my destiny number, but 80 is also being like one twin is into their dance between the masculine and the feminine, and the other twin is in their human embodiment, and perhaps balanced even, but they're not doing the dance yet. So, and also you notice that pi can be very much written like the symbol for Gemini or the twins. So then Philadelphia is coming back up, and Philadelphia breaks up into phi, la, Delphia. So we have phi, right, which is the golden ratio or the golden rule. La is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? So it's literally the sixth note. Sound familiar? Philadelphia, the sixth city. The golden rule, Philadelphia. Then Delphi. We have Del, Phi, A, or Delphia. We have the golden rule, the sixth note, or sixth ray. And then Delphi, or Delphi, the location is literally considered the navel of the earth. And you know the center of gravity of the human body is 2 inches below the navel of the human body. So literally, the navel is just above the middle, just to the side of the light. So Delphi is considered the navel of the earth. The center of the body is 2 inches below the navel, and that's what I just said. And Delphi is in central Greece, but it also means in 2 different places. And it's funny because if you look up even in Wiktionary, this definition doesn't come up, but it comes up from other places. So Delphi means sense, like sixth sense, as the sixth comes up, and it also means dolphin. So sense came up from audioenglish.org, and dolphin came up from ETYMON line, LINE.com. So this is for Delphi. So now we have Phi, La, Delphi, A. And for me, A is the circle of the human embodiment of Source with the tail, which is connection. So it literally translates as the golden rule of the sixth ray or note, sense, the dolphin sense, or in other words, the music of the spheres with the sixth note and the dolphin sense in the human connection. So the golden rule of the sixth note, sense, or ray in the music of the spheres, the dolphin sense in the human connection. Really cool. That's Philadelphia. So then Wiktionary, PHI, comes up as witch, columbines, mistresses, ladies of the monarch, and a clam. And clam comes up as the growth, right? Because we always talk about the clam and the oyster about making a pearl. So the pearl comes from the growth of the bacteria getting in there. It's like the rejection. So the rejection of it, just like the human body builds fat on it when it wants to protect itself. So fat is the same thing as a pearl, basically. So clam comes up here for phi as well. The place where the pearl grows. The golden rule, the golden ratio of the human body, which contains the golden ratio. The sixth ray, the sixth note, the sixth sense. The dolphin sense, the music of the spheres, and the human connection outside of itself and to its higher self. Okay, so some of the other definitions from Wiktionary for phi was to stir fry, onion or garlic. If it isn't, so phi means if it isn't this, then it's that. It also means non, like inhuman. So phi in that language, not human. Or it means to gallop, to flee, to lance. A visual illusion. So lance would be like whipping too, right? Because you're lancing the back when you do that. It's also a visual illusion where the sequence pattern of light produces a false sense of motion. So, you know, a painting that plays tricks with your eyes, or light which plays tricks with your eyes and makes you believe it's something that's moving that's not. That's PHI. So again, with concubines and also this false pattern of light that can trick you, and phi being the golden rule or the golden ratio. That it's all perspective because it's a ratio. So just it depends on your perspective. It's all the same thing. It just depends on what you call it or how you see it. So then we turn the page and we get back to the heal and the meal. The heal being he, all. In other words, it's human to heal, but the meal from God, the me, all, the nutrition from God is divine. To heal is human, to meal is divine. And then ante was coming up. From Wiktionary, the word of the day was tamata, which means toastmaster at the feast in the Caucasus, especially Georgia. And the foreign word that came up was moton with the double dots over the second O, equals to give birth to, or to bear. And then from the moton, that word, I was getting moat, to give birth in a tub, to surround yourself with fluid in order to make it a more comfortable transition. So in order to get to somewhere difficult, you need to put yourself in the same energy that you want to go transition into to make it an easier transition. Does that make sense? So anyway, it's using the moat around the castle, the boundaries that you've created, create them in a natural way, not artificial boundaries, but natural ones to make the transition an easier one. So ante comes up in the definitions around that because ante literally means before, it means price, and also that relates then to cost, because when we talk about the brother and the sister was Adelphi. So the feminine has a price. It means sorrow as well, ante, and elk, moose, a go. Anta in architecture has to do with the finishing edge or the end, right? The finishing touches. Ante is also like your aunt, also the end, intestines, right? The end of your body when everything comes out. It also means swayed or just before, all right? So before the end, the finishing touches. So then we go back to Antichristum, or Antichristum, however you want to say it, before Christ. So we're literally referencing Antichrist, the Antichrist equals Sophia. That the feminine has always been called the devil by man, right? We just called her concubines. The concubine was in the same breath as the monarch. Concubines, mistresses, and ladies of the monarch, and a clam, all considered the same thing. The way the masculine describes the feminine over the past 2,000 years. So the Antichrist is literally Sophia, called the devil by man. Before Christ was Sophia. The God equals me. M and E are Mary and Eve. MEN is men, which didn't exist until Jesus came. And then women comes up. So the W with a line over it is one way of writing pi, which references the females as opposed to the males, and the zeros. So the only difference between men and women is the WO, which is double is two U's. So two U's, or two twins, humans, cups or chalices, Eve and Mary of the M and the E, embodiment of source. So literally the word embodiment is EM, body, men, T. M is Eve and Mary, the body of the human body, and then men again of the Mary, Eve, and Jesus, and then the T of toggling up, of source. Two parts God or the feminine energy and one part masculine energy, which is the sun of the grounded earth energy. So two portals to share. The feminine, as opposed to the men, the woman has two portals to share as opposed to the man. One is open to only men, or in other words, the vaginal canal considered the men's room. The women's room is outside the human, right? Because the women's room would be then the penis, and that's outside the human. So the woman goes to the green room, which is the heart. Don't you just love that? The men are independent, but the women don't feel fulfilled until they share their second portal and their green room, the heart. So again, the men's room is the vaginal canal. And this was all coming from the breakdown of the embodiment of source. So men didn't exist. So ME, me is God. That's the Mary, Eve energy of the feminine energy. Then the N comes along with this, which is Jesus, which then grounds you into the human embodiment. But the woman adds the W and the O is the human embodiment of source energy. The W is two U's, or two chalices, two portals, two twins, and two humans. Embodiment of source. Embodiment breaks down to Eve, Mary's body, and men toggling up. So if the men want to get to the feminine, then they have to toggle up and come more into their feminine. Because the masculine, the MEN, are two parts feminine, or God, source energy, and one part masculine, or earthly, human energy. Two portals to share. The feminine, the women, have two portals to share because a male doesn't have a vagina, only a woman does. But they both have mouths. So woman, though, has two portals to share, the W's. One open to men only, the men's room. So therefore, the men are independent. But women don't feel fulfilled until they share, because the women's room is outside the human body, the penis. So they have to stay in the green room until they're ready. They stay in the green room then, which is the heart. The masculine, that's so funny, my daughter. The feminine starts from the heart, and the masculine starts from the genitals, the creation energies. So that was another way it came to that same conclusion. So then I go back to Adelphos for the brother and the Delphi of the sister, and go back to the definition of Adel, A-D-E-L. So Adel means today, nobility, aristocracy. It also means heartwood, and just referencing the feminine doesn't have a penis, that she has to stay in the green room, which is the heart, which is the heartwood, as opposed to the other wood. So you can't make this stuff up. So the phos, P-H-O-S, is plural for foe or po, which means set, shield, dismissive, contempt, via a Vietnamese soup. And then sisters, fee, F-E-E, which means fairy, livestock, to weave, knit, braid, intertwine, mat, or it means pixie as well. So in other words, there is a set cost for the divine feminine, making the divine masculine guarded, dismissive, and contempt. There is a resistance from the divine masculine to come together, to share, to be sweet, light, flighty, up in the air, and yet grounded, because it confuses him. He doesn't understand. How can she be up in the air and yet grounded at the same time? It doesn't make sense to him. So he gets confused. So I'm going to say that again. The definitions of the adelphos and the adelphi, the brother and the sister. There is a set cost for the adelpho, the masculine, because she is the phi. So she has a fee. You have to pay for the feminine. There's a set cost for the divine feminine, making the divine masculine guarded. So he's mad about that. So then he becomes dismissive with contempt. And there's a resistance from the divine masculine then to come together with the feminine, to share, to be sweet, because this is the feminine. The feminine's sweet, light, flighty, up in the air, yet grounded at the same time, doesn't understand how she can do that, how be so connected to God or her higher self, then is confusing to him, so he dismisses it. He dismisses it and has contempt for her and puts up his guard. So then, this was so funny, because I've been talking about the two popes all the time, about that the truth will set you free, but without love, it's excruciating. I don't know if that's paraphrased. I'm not sure if that's the exact phrase, but that's from the movie Two Popes. So the two popes came up again here as pi and phi, or in other words, the vagina and the penis. It's easy to get the pi into the phi, but it's hard to get the phi into the pi. There must be an H first, which is the number 8, which is the dance between the masculine and feminine, which is the first dance, the dance of romance. Roman, the C's, R-O-M-A-N-C-E, Ro-man, C. All right, so you have to romance the C's, the emotions of the feminine. Roma, Jesus is sealed with a kiss. So then you have romance is also Roma, and is code Jesus for me, and then CE, which is the seal. Roma, Jesus sealed with a kiss. So we're talking about Jesus in Rome now, referencing the romance between the masculine and the feminine. Roma, Jesus sealed with a kiss, needing something to hold them over, since Rome wasn't built in a day. So this is referencing the feminine. Jesus has to give the feminine, like he did Rome, something to hold them over, because Rome wasn't built in a day. There needs to be an engagement period. So how does engagement break down? E-N, gauge, men, T, and then period. And we all know who has that. So Jesus, gauge, so E-N, N or E-N for me is code Jesus. All right, so that's Jesus, gauge, men to toggle up. Teaches them how to use their feminine energy and connect with their higher self. Per, the period is P-E-R, per I-O-D. And so this can have different meanings. Per I-O-D can be per I-O divine, right? I-O-U, but I-O divine. But also we go back to the city of Pergamos and per iod. So period is per iod and Pergamos. And so I looked up the definitions of gamos, iod, and per. And so iod mostly is iodine, but also means jod, which equals yod, which has to do with the finger of God, the finger of fate or God. And it's also the triangle in astrology. The yod, the Hebrew, the atom of what did I write there? Oh, the atom of the consonants. So in Hebrew, that word, or the symbol of the yod in Hebrew is considered the atom of all consonants because it's the starting place of all of the language. So the finger of fate or God, the 3 planets in the isosceles triangle, having to do with the yod of God, the finger of fate, having to do with the 150 degree and the 60 degree angles, and the triangle, of a long triangle, isosceles triangle, having 2 sides being equal. And then the gamos means scratch, whip, or hoopty, meaning old and worn out, or in other words, a marriage. Per scratch, whip, old and worn out, per iodine, yod, or atom. Hero came up because H-E-I-R-O had no meaning, so it came up with the word heart instead. There was no other answer but the heart. And then per came up, and of course the other spelling, H-I-E-R-O, refers to sacred or holy. And per references the page, loss, representative, abdomen, by means, and means is the definition of the golden ratio, the golden mean, also means bury, bear, through, during, for, lawsuit, pears, pear tree, cauldron, and Peru. All of those things come up under PER. Also since and spring, like that's not like the season, but the spring in a pen. And then also per means multiplied by, right? How many times? So it comes back to pergamos and period. So pergamos is by experience, that the masculine's willing to get scratched and pummeled and whipped and whoop-de-doo, get all worn and old out in marriage in order to experience. But the period of the feminine is by the fated finger of God, or in other words, through faith. So pergamos is the masculine's perspective, period, or per iod, is the feminine's perspective of faith. His through experience and her through the fated finger of faith. This is really cool. So also it comes up as the per comes up as again the pagan leaders, the counterfeit of Christ, the purgatory, the Satan, pergamos. Was there anything else on this page? All right, so that's everything up to the read. So there's a lot of division here about, religions, sex, S-E-C-T, not sex, and paganism. And I wanted to bring that up too, because it was funny in my last relationship. I went to church with him one day, and they were talking about pagans in a very negative way. They probably wouldn't consider it that way, but it was. And I said to him afterwards, and he's not a really religious person, but he goes because going to church made him feel good, which was great. But I told him afterwards, I'm like, do you realize they were calling me out during the service as a pagan? And it totally goes over their heads that that's what they're doing, that they're not only separating themselves and making themselves above others, but literally calling other people names. And if you look up the word pagan, it has very negative connotations. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise, it does. So this read starts with the guidance card reversed, and beneath it was the Eight of Cups upright, the Ace of Pentacles upright, and the Page of Wands reversed at 4 o'clock, which is the Emperor, backed up by a lot of source embodiment. So I started out here with the guidance reversed and pagan. Pagan being a spiritual or alternative, but also considered the medical community. Those who don't believe in religion and don't follow their God are considered pagan. And back in the 7 cities, were the spiritual community. Spiritual, alternative, divorce, anyone who broke contracts after walking away and within, a new life, the diamond in the rough, being frustrated, or the pie is uninspired. And remember, pie came up as the feminine energy. Was that the feminine or the masculine? Yeah, the PI comes up as the feminine and the vagina, and the PHI comes up as the masculine and the penis. So he's already got the dance, he's got the music in him already. And the feminine has to get the dance. But he has to romance her to get the dance going. You get it? So that was coming up. He's got to inspire the feminine. That's why the romance or the engagement period is there, for the masculine to romance the feminine to inspire her. So the patient angel starting over in love, refusing to settle or be bored, be apathetic. The King of Cups is reversed here, doesn't charge, but rather submits for irreconcilable differences with the Queen of Wands reversed. A breakdown, the warpath, a state of emergency, not ascending, a broken path, all beat up, time for something fresh and new. The Cancer broken and patient between them, or King of Cups reversed is a Cancer and the Queen of Wands reversed is a Sagittarius, or vice versa, perhaps both with Taurus in their chart. Seeing synchronicities clearly broken and confused in the downturn, slowdown, or twist of fate that we're all going through, a new life offer to share with third party through work, or settling out with issues at work, getting along, financial issues, and connected by relationship and or a soul tie that perhaps he can't get out of. After an offer of help to a clearly broken past, blocks around his head, and disconnected from higher self, God, source, love, or spirituality, now connecting deeply with squares and triangles and medical blending, shaking it up from time to time, not needing another man, quote unquote, to bring things together. What God has already brought together, let no man put asunder. The Kundalini awakening and chakra system to the higher realms, well, if our higher connection is the devil, then so be it, as divine. Pagan medicine, light workers who use another word for God, like healing, having faith in their own abilities and natural inspiration to do good in the world. Libra reversed, Cancer reversed, having their cake and sharing it too, just other ways of describing connection to higher self, to the collective consciousness, to God. Leadfoot and a blockhead, preventing him from consciously connecting to his higher self, or in other words, his twin, divine feminine. Separation is out there, over loss and regret, no longer stuck at the why me in the road, free at last to open their heart and roam with the sun at his back, and hang out if he wants to, and radiate new perspectives. Tempting the cliff with royal pure friend to the end, will just throw the mess in the other room when people come over to hang. Calling in their soulmate, and Capricorn and Aries came up in that section. At 425 is the Emperor and the 25 of the Knight of Wands, calling in their soulmate, and beneath that was reconciliation for the masculine, settling out with a drinker or someone with depression issues openly, along with disconnect from any narcissism or ownership by Hierophant or Taurus reversed, breaking contract, marriage, or thinking outside the circle of trust. Secret is out, or dark priestess without the keys, over-isolating, going crazy, or coming out now unsatisfied with Taurus reversed, Pisces reversed, and Virgo reversed here at 430, which is the Emperor, and the 30 of the Four of Wands, which is also the union energy. At 431, as I turn the page, we have the Emperor. It was just 717. It was 10717. At 431, which is the Emperor and the Five of Wands, expansion energy, change, conflict, competition, games, music comes up as really significant. Number 32 in the underlying energy. 32 is the journey. And we were just talking about do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and the law of the sixth note. And beneath the music was teaching and learning, which was number 57, which is the Three of Swords, which has to do with separation and heartbreak and teaching and learning each other from those situations. So a negative past or childhood comes up here, or dealing with difficult kids right now, or the past returning with the Empress reversed in downturn and needing to let go, or a Taurus reversed with a negative past, or unhappy with kids, and Libra reverse letting go, perhaps suspend a little, working to align with victory, to win the war, to cause your opponent to surrender, to say when, or I give. The one who just never gives up usually wins. That's the masculine perspective. Perhaps old money, or money hidden in the rafters, or all the money put into or invested into their work with multiple casualties of the defeat. Plymouth Rock, when first stepping on dry land, as everyone else has now collapsed. Climbing to the top on the backs of others, burning the midnight oil, studying hard to triumph, now to only surrender at his own feet. No one left to celebrate with. Physical exhaustion, collapse of a marriage or contract, a way of being, a constant state of war in a dictatorship, surrendering to the spiritual side, alternative beliefs, and hanging out to be wise, unhappy, dissatisfied without their wish the day the music died. In the recent past is the Six of Pentacles, sharing, settling out, at present, or giving gifts perhaps, defenseless to energies and or attacks, being ganged up upon perhaps, Synchronicities, options, radiating the one at night, as the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords rush out on the town together, or go out for a run, or shopping, or online shopping at night to get their fix. And the foundation here is the Ace of Swords reversed. In a split, divide, lies, and cutting through the crap, or getting some clarity in the situation, with news, message, or a child spreading the word of clarity or new information that's in, and being strong, taming the beast, or Leo and or ego needing to be pacified. The Empress in a breakup or lack of affection, left out in the cold, depressed, needing to heal and dream with unhappy family and or the end of this family and or an emotional cycle. The Empress with news, clearly without affection or a lover, being strong in exile, destitution, going through injuries or illnesses, or a very pregnant, depressed person without a family. The central energy is the Seven of Wands reversed, the masculine being defenseless to the drama but no longer cares. The Emperor reversed in a split divide with the Ten of Pentacles upright family, business, legacy, or community. Perhaps a family breakup that is tied to his business at 452, the Emperor and the Queen of Swords. The challenge here being the twin flame, or the need to choose a path. And right as I turned the page, the sun just brightened up a whole lot. At 452 still, the Emperor and the Queen of Swords. The twin flames, reaping rewards, daydreaming, yard work, secret out that the war is over, PTSD, or needs to use their intuition and to apologize. Post-war, holding on to their twin, grounding, saving, and being moderate now. Losing battle and coming clean, getting clean, out of his mind, or a parent is, or someone's going crazy, or coming out of over-isolation now. A big surprise is the King of Swords no longer flirting, having casual sex, or putting up with ex's attempts to make him jealous, or vice versa. Unstable home, or moving, visiting, or ending a marriage, and or social commitments. To connect in love and surrender to the messenger of truth and reap rewards of no more secrets and no more war. In the aftermath of sudden events, drama, and or epiphanies in a split, dealing with lies and or cutting through the BS, dumping a load, burdens, and responsibilities, perhaps confessing, choosing the moon over the sun or instead of the sun. Shady business as opposed to full exposure, health, and happiness. And now, in the crowning moment for the Divine Masculine, is the Six of Wands reversed, feeling a failure or doing things under the radar, moving to peace of mind, or kids going back and forth in a divorce. Frustrated, not aroused, unable to conceive or conceptualize the injustice of new love, big love, self-love, spiritual love, and standing up for self and lighting the flame or the torch, in marking their surrender, arriving at Plymouth Rock. An offer of a new life, money, time, and effort to hold back an announcement, a judgment, to not heed the wake-up call, the call to action, to keep things hidden for a bit more, rising above sleazy or sexual connection. The King of Pentacles reversed is all about the money, and now with issues at work, trying to stay afloat, juggle, rob Peter to pay Paul, or perform, dance, two-step, sidestep, or find a way, no longer willing to stay quiet or be muzzled by the threat of instability or losing their home. Surrendering to connection, the Queen of Pentacles reversed and the Queen of Wands reversed, which can be the same person or could be two separate people, giving up. The Queen of Pentacles reversed and the Queen of Wands reversed, maybe one person who's being over-emotional in a twist of fate, purging, crying, or dumped, overwhelmed, or the Wounded Warrior reversed, surrendering, perhaps a Libra, Queen of Pentacles reversed, or Libra reversed and a Queen of Pentacles reversed, dumping their emotions on the Queen of Wands reversed for attacking one who already surrendered. So why are you still attacking them? Post-war looting and PTSD comes up here, and the King of Cups is reversed, with the Seven of Cups, synchronicities, options, and fantasy, as the King of Cups reversed, with constant eruptions, explosions, sudden events, drama, epiphanies, and fantasizing causing a split, confessing he chose the wrong path, choosing the ex at night or choosing his past at night and feeling guilty during the day. Soon the Indigo reversed feels insecure without their tools, loving the Queen of Pentacles reversed and the Page of Wands reversed, keeping kids happy, with the Queen of Pentacles reversed, frustrated with perhaps temper tantrums if that's not a child. At 5:15 is the Hierophant and the Devil, trying to hold on to savings and or money and things while saving or sharing his love with twin on the down low, the Queen of Pentacles reversed and the Page of Wands reversed under the radar, the Queen of Pentacles ungrounded and being used, or wanting to be happy with twin, and currently the Queen of Pentacles reversed and Page of Wands reversed are moving, or there's two sets of people here, one of them's moving, the other one may be staying there. But the one set is the Queen of Pentacles reversed and the Page of Wands reversed, but along with the Six of Cups. So that can regard more children or the twins, but also moving the Hierophant reversed and the Nine of Pentacles reversed, which can be an older dependent. Or the Hierophant reversed or Taurus reversed and dependent are powerless in moving, visiting, or ending a marriage. Loss of money, power, and independence here. All exposed about guilt of exile or leaving another or others out in the cold or behind in exile, or leaving them behind destitute, or you're destitute, injured and or ill, now coming clean, wanting to make up for the hurt they caused, but perhaps doesn't know how or have the tools to cope or coping mechanism. He is strong, he sees himself that way, bursting through the ring of fire as the white Bengal tiger, attacking the shadow with detox. Connecting to detox, detoxing pain or a painful end or ending pain, or back pain and or betrayal and walking away. The Magician reversed, feeling insecure and frustrated with no growth, unable to grasp this concept. Now choosing the new path left in surrender to his connection. Religious factors, which can be any differences, not just religion. Finances and career, and love yourself first were the first group that came up for the masculine here. And then healing family issues came up, as well as letting go of control and trust that there's a need here for faith. The situation is calling for you to have faith. And that again is the feminine side of you. Around him, or how he is seen, is the shadow reversed, holding back feelings and energetic exchange with third party, social distancing and or negative groups, influences and associations, with the Queen of Swords upright, speaking her truth, working to align in the aftermath of holding his unhappiness over her head, blaming her for not getting his wish, working without feelings, avoiding the third party, and dumping his problems or drinking issues on the Queen of Swords' head instead of dealing with his own issues. So detox came up here and shadow work. The masculine needs to clear blocks about the Tower reversed, which has to do with resisting sudden changes. And the Page of Pentacles reversed in need of help, money, or opportunity. The Nine of Pentacles reversed could be an older child who also needs help, money, and opportunities. And the King of Wands is reversed, perhaps just tired or sick and tired, or mad about sun, exposure, happiness, kids, and energy, resisting and having blocks about revealing himself, his authentic self. Healing comes up here for the masculine, but even more so is self-love and environment. So make sure you have an environment that is conducive to self-love. The world is upright as the cycle is complete. The dream girl in 5D, with closure in closing the distance gap, coming full circle with dark goats in his pockets, the hanged man being wise to see new perspectives about suffering in silence, stress, being up at nights, perhaps crying, purging headaches, in prison, feeling anxiety, trapped, and purging it out, fantasizing of splitting perhaps in order to gain clarity, and confess, drop burdens, and come clean about choices at night, and coming clean during the day in order to close the gap. Free to leap with the King of Cups reversed, not working, stubborn, disabled, stuck, or blocked, and the Knight of Cups offering love to help with changes perhaps. Scorpio dead tired or near-death experience, hurting their back, or just keeling over doing too much work. Sharing with the Page of Cups, or sharing with everyone but that one offering love at 544, which is the Hierophant and the Four of Cups, grounding and integrating and mastering of the offering and receiving of love. Or the Knight of Cups and the Page of Cups could be kids or other people around you helping, could be friends trying to help close the gap while the Divine Masculine settles out with those resisting the changes. The wounded warrior reversed surrenders as the Knight of Swords sends 5D messages to the third party, or because of social distancing, they have to send 5D messages, they can't be direct, but the King of Swords is upright at the end here in his truth, cutting out the negative influences in his life. Walking away for a fresh new life, frustrated, uninspired, or with a Page of Wands reversed in the divorce or break in contract, spiritual community and split, being strong, detoxing, and settling out, defenseless to drama, and challenged by the twin flame choice of path. Insecure and dealing with manipulations and or losing tools in the aftermath of disaster, under the radar, feeling like a failure and hanging out or feeling hung out to dry, but free to leap and surrender to the 5D communication with third party as the King of Swords in his truth. No guidance or the Hierophant reversed and Taurus reversed, settling out in surrender in a split, defenseless under the radar or with negative attention, and challenged by the twin flames or a choice of path, and being strong but feeling insecure, or an insecure child is detoxing and clinging to him, resisting changes, hanging out free to leap and surrender, and send 5D messages to third party as the King of Swords in his truth, cutting out the fat and the crap. And that ended at 552, which is the Hierophant and the Queen of Swords. The central energy was all about letting them react, but not reacting in response, right? Not getting triggered to somebody else being triggered, no longer caring. If they want to gang up on you, let them gang up on you. Just walk away. And the challenge being the twin flame, the choice of path, and hanging out free. But now that you are free and can come together, you're not allowed. So social distancing was definitely coming into play at the end here. So it's 1/21/21. How perfect. Two world split, and the magician embodiment. So I'm just going to pull you an energy deck card since we're already almost at an hour and a half. All right, do you have enough 21s coming now? And again, that's the world of completion, and also the 3 of socializing and coming together in joy and happiness, being authentic to yourself. So God, Christa Sophia, Mother, Father, Source, Love, what is our message? What ties this read together for everyone watching? What do they need to know? Let's clear all negative, dark, and viral energies across all dimensions of time, space, matter, and realities for the highest good of all those concerned. And fill that empty space with only beautiful divine love and time and crystalline light. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so what is our message? What's our takeaway from this read? What do you want us to understand and know? All right, we have 2 cards coming up here. We have anxiety, which is 18, the moon, which has to do with the false light. When you're holding on to something that doesn't serve you, it causes disconnection from higher self and thus anxiety. The second card that's coming up is 14, which is caring connections. That has to do with patience and balance and a higher love. So we're dealing with the moon. We just came off the full moon. We're coming towards the middle of the cycle. And we have the 14 of the moon and the 14 of the temperance and balance and taking one step at a time in a higher love. Someone might have a lot of anxiety about how to get from here to here. And then we have the 43 of the man holding a coin. 43 is the 3 of cups, the coming together. Okay, and there may just be, the only block may be social distancing right now. And there's 2 more cards that want to be seen. The magician and the mirror. What did I do? This is me, it's God. 53 is the Knight of Swords, the messenger of truth, the knight in shining armor, the magician in the mirror. See me as I am, right? It's like catching the old man in the middle of the night, right? When he's not, this is like the emperor when he's woken up in the middle of the night. They don't want you to see them in their vulnerability. And then we have contract, which is number 6 of the lovers. So this is being blind and feeling into it. Does it feel good? Does it feel balanced? Does it feel right to you? And there's books there on the table as well. The underlying energy is the 27 of the Ace of Wands, walking away for a passionate new beginning. All right, so there's new passion here. And this is the underlying energy coming in, and this could be because a karmic party walked away from the situation. And it can be the masculine or the feminine as well, depending on how they come into the other. Are they ready? Are they treating you the way you're supposed to be treated? And these are all the cards coming in. So there's anxiety, caring connections, the man holding a coin, revealing his true self just as he is in the middle of the night without his emperor clothes. The emperor's new clothes, I love that. And then the contract. Okay? So there may be anxiety about how to come through to this caring connection when he's got financial contracts. And take me as I am, the emperor's new clothes. All right? I'm getting see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. That love is blind. And now I'm getting Tina Turner saying, what's love got to do with it? Because as you see here, it's money, right? Money, the emperor being vulnerable, and contracts. There's no love per se here, but there is here. This is the caring connection. Here's the higher love. And there's anxiety about it, how to have the tools to get from to here from a place of being all about contracts and money and masculine energy. Okay? After the walking away, this is the underlying energy. Okay? I'm going to give you a Crystal Angels card too. I hope you're all still hanging with me. I hope you get what I was getting. It was really cool, getting all that information. Sometimes I need to be more patient about putting that information together in a way that you can understand it more easily, more visual, because I know it's hard to get just by listening. All right. So another message for everyone. What is their advice? All right, we have Amethyst, which is revealing your true self. As you allow others to know the real you, you'll feel loved for who you truly are. So even if you're thinking people won't like you the way you are in your vulnerable state in the middle of the night, you'll be proven wrong, which is great. And then Emetrine, balancing masculine and feminine energies. Allow your feminine side to creatively inspire you and your masculine side to give you confidence. There's one more card, Yellow Jasper, control issues. Utilize your God-given strength and power instead of fearing that others may try to control you. So again, this is no longer caring, which was the center of the read. Feeling defenseless to people's attacks or energetic energies that are too much for you, and no longer caring because you know you can't please everybody all the time, so just surrender. The underlying energy being Topaz. Forgiveness heals. Time to release repressed anger, and it's blocking your health and happiness, which definitely came up in the read. Okay, and one more card from the Kipper deck for you guys, and then I'll let you go. It's 12733. So it's again the Magician, the Ace of Wands of that new passion, and the 33 of the Christ energy. It's also the 7 of Wands in the middle of the read, but it's reversed today. It's usually standing up for yourself without being triggered. But today it's feeling defenseless, but allowing that too. That's when you learn how to not care anymore so much. Just be you. That's all you can do. All right, so these two guys fell out. We have the Pathway and Despair. So this is the anxiety that came up in the other deck of the Journey. And then here's the Pathway, which is the Wounded Warrior energy of the 35. But the Wounded Warrior is in surrender today. All right, so it's allow yourself to feel this, but then surrender to it. There also may be some court issues going on, or that mediation needs to happen, whether it's between twins or between couples who are divorcing or separating. And again, here's the marriage energy. And someone going on a journey, okay? Feeling some despair on the journey with the Wounded Warrior surrendered in the read today, dealing with some court issues still regarding the marriage perhaps. This is either coming together or coming apart, but there is despair here. And then going on a journey to get a break, okay? And that's the 10 of a turn for the better with the Wheel of Fortune. The underlying energy is the main male who's a little upside down right now. There's no emotions to ground into, right? Again, the airy-fairy feminine. How do you stay grounded and be up in the air at the same time? Well, it's because the feminine's naturally in her emotions. The masculine has to learn that. He's upside down still, but there is a gift in this, all right? This is the underlying energy. So coming out of reversal of fortune perhaps with a gift of nothing to ground into, so he can learn how to ground himself and become upright again. Okay, so I hope that was helpful for you guys. I do need to show you the read, don't I? Let me see if I can get it. All right. Okay, so the underlying energies, the guidance card, recent past is the Six of Crystals. That was upright. The foundation here is the Ace of Orbs, it's reversed. The only ace that was upright was the Ace of Pentacles today. The Seven of Wands or Flames upside down there. All right, so feeling defenseless. The challenge being the Twin Flames, that was upright today. The other underlying energies, the crowning energy there is the Six of Wands upright, the Journeyman, bridging over the 4D bridge to the Indigo, which was reversed today. The Magician, yep, feeling insecure. The Masculine sees himself as the Strength card upright. And around him, or how he's seen, is the Shadow reversed, which is detoxing, perhaps after the worst of it though. The Tower's reversed and the blocks he needs to clear. And then we end up there, look at the card colors, the blue and the green and the sacral energy. So the heart, the throat, and the sacral. And they end up on the Hangman with the Wounded Warrior reversed above that, the Messenger of Truth, or the Knight of Swords above that, and then the Three of Cups reversed, which has to do with social distancing. And then we have the King of Swords and his truth there at the top there, and you see the underlying energies of the sacral and the third eye. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed the first part, because I certainly did. Rise and be loved, guys. Make sure you drink your water. Make sure you drink your water, get your rest, get your joy, get your nature, and allow everything, the good and the purging. Rise and be loved, guys.